Welcome back, Rise Up Nation. We're here for another edition in season 4 of Rise Up in Real Estate. And I've got a return guest today. You'll recognize him probably from being on the show before and also from his time on YouTube. But this is a friend of mine. He's a productive agent. We're going to dig into some stuff today, but he's a great friend of mine, Jeremy Blanton. Super happy to have you back on the show. Thanks for taking some time with us today.
Thanks, Tad. I'm excited to be here, man. Love coming back to the show.
Yeah, thank you. It's we decided a few minutes ago, like Jeremy said, you didn't send me any questions. Like normally you tell me some things we're going to talk about, and I didn't do that. I actually almost forgot to send you the link, so thank you for reminding me of that. But I wanted to I think we're just going to do like a fireside chat. Kind of my idea with Jeremy is like we go and eat Chinese together and we just sit and talk about, Jeremy, what's going on in the world. And like Jeremy's a practitioner, so he's in the cars and in the living rooms and on YouTube and doing his craft for years now, and I'm not doing that. So when we kind of hang out together, I get to kind of pick his brain. So I thought that'd be beneficial for the listeners today to kind of find out where you're at. So tell us briefly your story. Like, how long have you done real estate? I can see in the background you're an Eagles fan. You're probably from up north, but tell me your real estate story real quickly to get us up to date today.
Sure. So you are right. I am an Eagles fan. I came down from Reading, Pennsylvania in 1998. I literally graduated on a Friday night, had a party on Saturday, and Sunday we were on the way down here. My degree is actually in resort tourism management from Coastal Carolina. I was one of the first people in that program when they started it up. And with it, I had to do some internships. And two of the internships that I had to do, one was in marketing and one was in management. And so when it came time to do the marketing and management one, I didn't want to do them in restaurants anymore. I didn't want to go work at a hotel. And my father was already a pretty successful agent here in the area. And he said, why don't you come work for me? You can manage my marketing and then manage my team. And so I did my two internships with him and learned all about real estate marketing, and I got my license actually in 2001. I got it the week before 9/11. I'll never forget going to my first big company meeting with the company we were with, and it was over at the Myrtle Beach Convention Center. And they had me stand up in front of like 400 agents in this company, and they introduced me. Hey, this is Dennis Blanton's son, Jeremy. He's going to be interning and working with him, and he just got his license. And the next week, I go home and I'm getting ready to go to school, and all of a sudden 9/11 hit. And so that was kind of my introduction into real estate 23 plus years ago now. It's crazy to think it's been that long doing it. But I did it full time with my dad from 2001 till about 2008, 9. We were very successful. We did 137 houses the one year, just the two of us with my mom working as an assistant. And then the market completely tanked and crashed, and we went from 137 to 13. And well, my wife very kindly, and Tad, you know her, you've met my wife. She's one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. Very sweetly and kindly looked at me one day and said, Jeremy, go get a job. You need to find a way to make money to provide for our family, because we were about to have our first child. And so she can't work and she's about to have a baby. And so she ever so sweetly told me. And so I stepped away from doing real estate, got a job as a seasonal salesperson at T-Mobile, selling cell phones. And this was right after T-Mobile and Suncom had merged together. I don't know if you remember when that happened.
Yeah, yeah.
But when that took place, everybody came in the door screaming and yelling. And so it was a good thing to teach me how to deal with customer service and how to be customer service oriented, as well as also keeping sales as a top of mind, because you are commission based working at those places. So as a seasonal person, I was there about 3 weeks, and all of a sudden I was the top accessory salesperson for the entire cell phone company. And all of a sudden in like 2 months, I was the top accessories for the entire Southeast region, to where these people had worked at T-Mobile for 9, 10 years and wanting to work next to me. And they're starting to use my scripts and the things that I was saying to people on a regular basis so that they could start to make the things, and sales to happen. So fast forward, 2010 comes along, a small tech company that I used for my real estate business. You might have heard of them, called Active Rain. You ever heard of them?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. So they called me and they said, Jeremy, where are you? Why are you not on the platform? Where'd you go? And I said, well, my wife is having a baby and I needed to make money to pay for the bills. And they said, well, we got to have you back on. We want to hire you as a community manager. And so I stepped away from working at T-Mobile, went to work for Active Rain, and it was probably one of the coolest things I ever did. I got to travel the country speaking at any and every conference you can think of with any and every brand you can think of. Everything from Coldwell Banker, Remax, Keller Williams, National Association of Realtors. I've spoken on all of their stages across the years with it. Fast forward to 2014, my father suddenly passed away. There's no other way to really put it. He was 63. He had an ulcer that ruptured open. He bled out and passed away at 63. And so that was in 2014. And I needed to figure out what was I going to do. And in the back of my head, it kept always going, Jeremy, if something ever happens to me, you better get your butt back in real estate, he would say. And so I kept hearing this voice of my dad haunting me, get back in real estate, get back. And so in 2014, I came and joined Remax Southern Shores with your lovely bride, Mandy, at the time. And the thing that kind of pulled me in instantly was one of the sayings that Mandy said is that she believes each and every day that everyone who works for this company is on a day-to-day contract, meaning that she has to do whatever it takes each and every day to make the agents want to come back to work the next, whether that's, sending out cards to them, sending them a get well, chicken pot pie when they've got a cold or something like that, having events and things that build that camaraderie in our office. And when she shared that with me, I was sold, hook, line, sinker, joined the company right then and there. And the rest is history. So 2014, I got back in. 2015, let me tell you, was a great year in real estate. I made a whopping $27,000 that year. So I had to learn real quick again how to go from just doing the marketing side to doing real estate, doing the entire encompassing package and figuring out what would work for me. And, I remember a good friend of ours that as well, Lee Brown, coming to the beach the one time and we were eating up at King's Pizza in North Myrtle Beach. And Lee basically said to me, Jeremy, you need to get your ass in the office and you need to make 10 calls at least a day. And I went, whoa, okay, Lee. And I would try to do that. But I realized that's not me. I cannot stand talking on the phone and cold calling people, cold calling even past clients or friends or that to say, hey, I'm in real estate. If you know somebody wanting to buy or sell, call me. No, not because I'm uncomfortable with the subject of real estate or don't have any knowledge on it. I don't want somebody doing that to me. I don't know about you, but my personality, when I go to buy a car, if I pull into the car dealership and as I'm opening the door, there's a car salesman standing there ready to meet me. Hey, I'm Johnny and I'm here today at Bob's Chevrolet and I'd love to sell you a car today. We're going to get you in and out of here in no time. Something like that happens. I'm just going to kindly close the door and drive off the parking lot. So with my personality, I needed to figure out a way to start to generate business. And so one of the things that I used to travel the country speaking a lot on is using video, creating video. And that's kind of when the aha light bulb went on and I started to create video to generate business and it did okay. And we'll get into it more, I'm sure, down the road. But I did okay with that for many years until finally some other ahas took place. But I don't want to just keep talking. I'll let you ask other questions.
Yes. No, that's good. So that was a great. I learned a few things I didn't know about you. I don't remember the active rain part of your story. That's pretty cool. And of course, if you're a cell phone guy and you're good at selling accessories, you know how to get somebody from a maybe to a yes. So that explains a little bit of your success with that. But I've watched. So really, when did you shoot your first video? I mean, let's be honest. Everybody knows you as the YouTube guy around our circles, and you've got lots of subscribers and lots of video views now. I remember you were telling me that all those stats you can throw out in a second, but tell me about your first video that you ever shot. Do you know what it was and when it was?
It was a very, very long time ago. The actual first real estate related video that I published, I'm looking at it right now, was in May of 2008.
Okay.
So that's a long, long time ago.
And was it a like a house tour, or was it a neighborhood, or what was
Mm,
it?
no, it was I worked for a company that had a brokerage that I worked out of right along Kings Highway, and it was Harley Bike Weekend. And I literally walked out to the intersection, held my phone out, and said, "Here's Harley Week in Myrtle Beach," and shot a video that's like 46 seconds long of some motorcycles going out of the intersection. Yeah.
Interesting. So that's amazing that in 2008 you were. I mean, I wonder what you were studying to think that was a good idea, or where were you getting your information that that was going to create some traction for you? Talk to me
Honestly,
about that.
that one I don't know. The first true, I would say, video to kind of think about trying to get business was done a little bit later that year in August, and it was on how to remove a foul smell from your drain in the kitchen. And basically all that video was how, you can do the vinegar and baking soda and you pour it in there and then give hot water afterwards and throw some ice cubes in the garbage disposal, and it'll clean it out organically, give it a nice smell, and get rid of any funk that might be going on. And so that was kind of the first video that I did for something to try to generate business. When I say in there, "Hi, I'm Jeremy with Myrtle Beach Homes Blog," and the video quality is like 360p. So it sounds, and the audio was so bad, it sounds like I have a lisp the whole time I'm talking. So it sounds like, "Hi, I'm Jeremy Blanton with Myrtle Beach Homes Blog, and we're today going to tell you how to clean out your drain." I kind of sound a little bit like Daffy Duck in it. But that video, since I published it, now has 156,000 views.
And what year was that?
That was in August of 2008.
I remember a few years ago, someone told me that concept of where, and I have videos that I'll look back and I haven't even thought about that video in so long, and yet some people find it as brand new that year. Like somebody will look up how to, and YouTube is famous for that. Like I think it's a larger search engine than Google now, or kind of equal. Is that right? And you go in there and
Well,
how to do so and so.
well, Google owns YouTube, so when it's offering up the results that you want, if you're somebody that, we're all logged into our Google profile when we're using Google Chrome. So it's tracking everything we do. So if it sees that I'm using YouTube a lot to answer the how-tos or the what ifs or get information on something, it's going to offer up in my results a video, if there's a video out there that's, got 500,000 views on how to answer this question. So if somebody's going, "Hey, my drain stinks, how do we get rid of this smell in my garbage disposal?" They're going to find that video and they're going to watch it even today, you know 20 some years after the fact. What does it see? It's 26 years ago, basically. That
Yeah.
been 25 and a half years ago that video was made. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's crazy. So what video is most watched of yours? What's the highest number of views you have?
So the video that does has done the best for me of ones that I've shot in the last several years. Um, when it comes to video, there's basically two ways you can go about it. You can either offer a solution to something, of how to, what to do with that, or you make a video that addresses a pain point or something that's going to have a little bit of a negative connotation. People are watching videos on things that are going to save them money or things that are a ripoff to do. So for me, one of my best videos that I've ever created is about the 10 biggest tourist traps that Myrtle Beach has. And so I talk about the helicopter. That's one of the biggest tourist traps that are here. Because if you drive up and down 17, you'll see these great, huge billboards where they're advertising $20 helicopter rides. And people pull in there thinking, "Hey, for 20 bucks, I can take my whole family. So I have 3 kids and my wife, so that's $100. We're going to take a helicopter ride." What they don't realize is that the $20 one literally goes straight up, spins around basically, maybe goes 100 yards from where it went up, and basically it goes right back down. They think for $20 they're going to get a tour all the way up and down the beach and see everything there. No, to do that one, you're spending $150, $250 per person. And so that video is all about tourist traps in Myrtle Beach. I also talk about in that one things like the Myrtle Beach beachwear stores and all of the t-shirts and pants and stuff that have Myrtle Beach on it that people come and buy, and the sand crabs and all that stuff that they buy to take home. And if they do like me, we lived in Pennsylvania, we used to get them all the time and take them home, and we would stick them up in the back dashboard and forget about them until we got home. And by the time we get home, they'd be baked and dead.
Nice. So do you still use that philosophy now when you're shooting videos? How you said how to or solve a problem, pain point.
Yeah, for the most part, that's what I do with a lot of them. Or as I mentioned, I feel I have a pretty good level of knowledge about real estate and a pretty good level of knowledge about Myrtle Beach. So I've tried to become the trusted resource for people who are thinking about moving here. And it works well for me that, I mentioned I don't like calling people cold. So I now have set up my own Calendly that if somebody wants to have a phone call with me, they can just go click on it, schedule a 30-minute call, and it's based on my calendar. It knows when I'm available, when I'm not, and they get to schedule that call, and they're calling me. I don't have to reach out to them. They already know me. They have watched my videos for hours and hours and hours. The people I met yesterday, when they came in the door, you would have thought that they met the biggest celebrity in the world. They're like, "Oh my gosh, it's you, Jeremy. It's so excited to finally meet you in person." And I'm just like, "I'm just a regular dude. I got 3 kids and a wife and 2 dogs. We're live around the corner here from here, 5 minutes away. Nothing really special about it." But people have watched and consumed enough of my content over the years now that I've built that library of a couple hundred videos. I think I'm over 200 videos now in the resource library of stuff about moving to Myrtle Beach, the pros and cons of living here, the reasons you shouldn't move here, the reasons you should, the things you should be prepared for when you move here. Like I'm preparing a video that I'm going to shoot later tonight, and I'm just talking about 10 important things that I wish I knew before moving to Myrtle Beach. And so a lot of my content from time to time comes from pain points that we experienced when moving down here, in 1998.
Yeah.
Like for example, our house, we thought it was on a sewer system. And back then there weren't property disclosures. So we bought this house and we're move in, and my dad goes, "Where's the garbage disposal?" There's no garbage disposal in there. Calls the agent and asks, "Where's the garbage disposal?" "Oh, let me call the agent. Let me call the owner and ask him." The owner says, "The house is on a septic system. It can't have a garbage disposal." And we're like, "Oh, you know and so things like that, and stories that we've experienced over the years, either doing this for so long with working with a client, a buyer or a seller, or things that people have shared with me over the years of, "Well, I didn't know that," or "I wish I'd known." That has been the main source of my content. As I used to share when I would travel the country all the time, people were asking, what content should I be creating for my website? What content should I be creating for social media? Well, what are the questions you get asked each and every day by people buying houses in the area or selling houses in the area? If you're answering that question more than once or twice a month, then how many other hundreds of people are searching for that answer? And more than likely, nobody's created that information out there. And so that's where a lot of my business comes from.
And that's a good question. Like a lot of people shy away. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to shy away from video. I don't like the way I look or sound. I mean, all the stories, but how do you create the content over time? Like, do you have like creative sessions where you just sit down and write a bunch of ideas down? Do you have a notebook that you throw them in, or on your phone, or you just
Yeah.
you're
So what
stay ahead?
So what I use is I use an app called Trello, Trello, and it allows me to create boards basically for content. And so I have in there, and you can basically create different stages along the way. So I've created my own Trello board for my main content. And there's basically different stages. There's the topics, there's the stuff then there's it's in process where I've started to think through. Then this is the column of stuff ready to shoot. This is the column once it gets shot, then it goes to the shot and needs to be edited, in the editing place, completed, and then it's onto the published out on YouTube. And so like when I get an idea or a thought or something that comes along for it, I just throw it in that video topics channel, board. And then when I get time, I'll go through and work on it a little bit more. Or like tonight's going to be a video shoot night for me. So I've spent a lot of time there the last few days creating content, and I'm trying to get to the point where I can batch shoot, 2 to 3 things at a time. And then of course, if something that is time sensitive pops up, next week, all of a sudden interest rates drop to 4%. Well, yeah, I'm going to be talking about 4% interest rates, and I'll create a quick new video and push it in before some of the other stuff along the way. But the goal with everything that I create is to try to create things that it's going to become an evergreen piece of content that's going to work for me, going to create views, going to create interest, and people know, liking, and trusting me, just like that video that I did 25 years ago about how to clean the foul smell out of my drain.
Right. And so it's worth saying on here, we're in the coastal region of South Carolina, if you haven't caught that already. I don't know what Jeremy feels. I'll let him tell us if he wants us to look at his channel or not. I don't think you want a lot of empty subscribers on your channels these days, but this guy has not just started this today. Like you can hear in his voice and in his story, you can't become Jeremy Blanton overnight, right? But so you use a real production equipment, like a real camera. Are you doing your own editing anymore? You're not using your phone in a little holder, right?
So honestly, when it comes to the gear, let's talk gear a second.
Yeah.
Honestly, the best camera to use is the one that you have available and know how to use these days. Um, you know, I'm an iPhone guy. I know you're not anymore, and it's okay. I'll forgive you. But if I need to shoot something and I'm out, like I was shooting some content the other day for upcoming videos, and it was an open house, and I was like, hey, this would be cool to have some of this luxury footage of this $1 million home that I was in. It was listed by someone in our company. It's like, hey, do you mind if I just get a couple shots that I can use for B-roll in the future? She said, sure. So I pulled my phone out, turned it on, shot. This shoots in 4K. This
Hmm.
shoots in better quality footage now than my big expensive DSLRs. They only do 1080. When my video guys come, they usually bring their own camera because they can shoot in 4K. But yeah, I mean, I have spent a good amount of money over the years on equipment, whether that's the lighting like I have over here or behind me. As you kind of mentioned beforehand, yeah, I've kind of created my own set behind me of things. And, most of the stuff that's behind there on the shelf are things that I enjoy or things that my family enjoys doing. Like, right above me over here is a Disney castle. We love to go to Disney World. My YouTube counter, the Philadelphia Eagles, Mountain Dew, that kind of stuff. It's all kind of there. And, yeah, it costs money. I've got thousands of dollars in cameras, in lights, in microphones, all that stuff. But honestly and truly, if I needed to today to start, I would grab this phone. The next thing I would buy is I would go buy a good microphone that connects to my phone, and I would buy a decent ring light to hold the phone in, and I'm going to have good lighting, I'm going to have good sound, and I'm going to have a good picture and do it. When I started, that's what I started with. Then I started to upgrade my stuff and bought a nice camera. Then and I used the free software to edit. And I used to do it all. And I would spend hours and hours editing the video. And it got to the point where I started to get busy. And it's like, okay, I'm busy. Do I want to spend my time editing video or taking buyers out to see houses in Myrtle Beach? And so, in order to be able to continue to grow my business, my real estate business, which is what I really want to grow, not my YouTube business, I could turn it into a full-time YouTuber probably if I wanted to. Um, I needed someone. So I hired a guy from my church. He works in the creative arts department. Who else is going to know how to shoot video than a guy who does it all day long for one of the big churches in Myrtle Beach? I said, hey, man, you want to make some extra money? I'll pay you, so much an hour. Sure. Awesome. So he would start to come and he would shoot the video and he'd go back and edit it. And then he got a little bit busy too. So then he got the guy who does all the editing for the church that he shoots and says, hey, man, you want to make some extra money? Jeremy will pay you to edit the videos. And so the two of them basically work as my video production team. We create the content, we shoot it, once or twice a month, take it back, They edit it all, upload it. I go in, watch it, make a couple tweaks to it, add a thumbnail, and we're done. And it's off to the races with it.
Yeah, so I appreciate you talking about it that way because you said you're at like I heard somebody say, don't compare your page one to someone else's page 100. So I don't want the listeners to say, gosh, I could never do what he does. He look at all the money he spent, but you've grown it over time. And I appreciate you saying, hey, if I were going to start over, I would do this, this, and this. Tell me also, like, this is kind of your one pillar of business. It's the main. We get repeat referrals, I'm sure,
Yep.
but this is your pillar of business. So that's another thing for the listeners to recognize is that you've gone all in.
Yeah, there's no turning back. I would say the last two and a half, well, the last 3 years now, it's probably at about 75%, I would say, of my leads for business have come from YouTube alone. And then the other 25% is from referrals and past clients. Um, it's amazing. I put a video out on Friday, and one of the things I've really started to do now this year is I've learned to get a priority balance in life of work and personal. And so, I shared this with you before, I remember many times ago. But back when you were running accountability with our company, that I needed to have time off. I needed to have time to recharge. And as my coach that I have now in real estate says to me, Jeremy, if you don't take time to rest, how do you expect to give it your best? And it's, I will have to take time off. And so I've now gotten to the point that Sundays I'm not going to work. I met people yesterday and I told them when we were meeting, I'd love to work with you and have you be your agent representing you and you be a client of mine to buy a house here in Myrtle Beach. But if having an agent that isn't available to talk on Sundays and most Saturdays is going to be a problem, then we're not a good fit. Let me get somebody who can help you. And they said, oh, no, no, it's fine for you to have time off. It's time for you to have that balance in life. And so, you can definitely be
Mhm.
successful, have the good life, and live abundantly.
Yeah, we talk about. I said that yesterday. We talk about abundance is the balance of money and time. And if you have all the money in the world and no time, what good is it? And if you have all the time and money and all the time in the world, no money, what good is it? But I appreciate that about you guys, you and Catherine and your three kids. You travel some, and you have the protected time. You spend time in church. You're very involved there, and yet you do a very robust business. I mean, I think if I'm right, your last few years have been the best you've ever had. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, I have grown every year basically since getting in. As I mentioned, that first year full in, I did a whole whopping $27,000 in commission. Well, I had last year several months that I did $27,000 of commission in that month.
Right.
And like I said, 75% of it comes from from YouTube. And it's interesting. You mentioned kind of like about you having your mantra and your thing that you live by with it in your vision statement. That was one of the things that my coach really urged me to do a few years ago. And sorry if I look away from it. I have to look over to the side because I have it written over there. But basically, my visions for my business is to be in a position of financial security, to be able to provide and protect for my family, all while living an abundant life and changing the lives of others. And that's kind of the thing that each day when I wake up, that's my why, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
that I'm going to do. Whether, like you mentioned, I'm very involved with our church. On a Sunday morning, it starts at 7 a.m. usually. I'm there till 1, get a break for 2 to 3 hours, and then I'm back again at 4:30 till 9 o'clock at night for the youth. I'm involved with the worship team. I'm involved with the children's ministry. I'm involved with the youth ministry. I'm involved in like I don't know how many ministries that I'm involved with, but I love it. That's what recharges me and refuels me so that on Monday morning, when accountability rolls around, I'm able to wake up and be there on that call ready to go for the next week.
Yeah, that's good. And you're such a giver too. Like I could name, I mean, you and I joked about you helping an agent last night, and I'm looking in the background at your good friend's desk that will remain nameless, but everybody knows whose desk that is if they've seen your office. But you're such a giver that that balance is appreciated because you're helping I was getting ready to ask you what your why was. I'm glad you went there because that is what motivates. Have you always had a crystal clear why, or has coaching kind of helped you right, figure that out?
Coaching definitely helped me out. The if I would say the two biggest things, and coaching has been just a game changer for me. Not because he's necessarily taught me how to run my business, but what they've done is they've helped me to refine my business and they've taught me how to balance my business. And that was number one, helping me to create that why. But the other thing, I had a coach before this gentleman that I have now, Eric, but the one before her name was Kim. And I'll never forget on the first call that I had with her, Kim said to me, she said, "Well, Jeremy, before we get into everything of how you run your business and all that, let's talk about work-life balance a minute." And she says, "Let me ask this. Do you want to work 7 days a week?" And I said, "No, gosh, no, I don't want to do that." She said, "So how many days would you like to have off?" I said, "Well, I'd love to have every Sunday. And if I could have off most Saturdays too, that would be great." She said, "Okay." And I see her pull out a calculator and she starts typing away on it. And she says, "Okay, and now vacations, would you like to do those?" I was like, "That would be awesome. I'd love to take at least, 2 vacations a year." She's, "Okay, so 2 vacations, a week each one?" I said, "Yeah, that sounds about right." She says, "Okay." And she sits there and she's calculating away all of a sudden. And she goes, "Okay, so what you need to do, Jeremy, is take 17 and a half weeks off a year." And I went, "What? You want me to do what?" She said, "Well, if you're taking off every Saturday and Sunday and you're taking off 2 weeks for that, that comes out to this number divided by 7 days of a week. That's 17 and a half weeks of the year that you need to have time off that you're not working." And, that came about because as I was sharing with them, it was shortly before I signed up for coaching. Catherine and I had taken the kids to Disney World that year for Christmas. And it was the big Christmas present. I took my mother, I took my in laws, I took everyone. And I had a client who called me the whole first day, multiple times. "Jeremy, I hate to bother you. I hate to bother you." Okay, well, if you hate to bother me, then why are you calling me again? And he continued to call. And the next morning, first thing in the morning, 7 o'clock, we're up. We're trying to virtual queue to get into a ride at Disney, and he's calling my phone. And by the third day of our trip, of me spending 80% of the time on the phone with this guy and working on his issue, which wasn't even a problem. The house wasn't even built yet, but it was this big major issue in his mind. My wife said to me, she said, "Jeremy, why did you spend all of this money to bring everyone to Disney World to work?" And it was just kind of like, oh, and so that's when I learned in my life I need work-life balance. And since I started to put that in place, my business that was good went to great.
Yeah, that's strange how it operates that way. And I should mention that Catherine, you've mentioned her twice on this episode, maybe three times, but two times specifically for something that she said that was kind of stopped you in your tracks. The first one was very poignant, and the one at Disney, she's like, "Hey, why did you spend all this money?" And then back in the day, she said, "You better get another job, dude, because you
Yep.
got to pay us more money than this." That's pretty good. So Catherine, when she speaks, she's like E.F. Hutton. Everybody better listen. Is that
Well,
right?
if you take it back to the Bible, it says, "He who finds a wife finds a good thing." So,
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate that. And that's been a fun journey too. I've enjoyed. I mean, at our company, it's like family. We truly try. I mean, somebody's got to let you, but we try to care about the whole person. And I've enjoyed knowing you and your family. You're a very good example in a lot of areas, and to see your business thrive is rewarding. But it is interesting to me. I wanted to ask you maybe one or two questions before we wrap up. Was there a turning point for you, Jeremy, with video? Like, was there a time where you were doing it where you weren't getting the spoils that you thought you should, and then all of a sudden you started getting some traction? Tell me about when that was and why you
oh
think that
yeah.
happened.
Oh yeah. So, as I mentioned, I started video back in 2008 and I did it a bunch. And then when I got back in 2014, 15, I started to create content and my video was all over the place. Everything, I was like, oh, if I saw a video somebody did that was funny, I would try to recreate it. Well, it already went viral with one person. It's not going to go viral again, with it. But I was creating content about anything and everything you can think about. And then a good friend of mine who's extremely successful with YouTube basically told me, Jeremy, you need to figure out find your avatar for YouTube. And each platform that's out there is very different. My content that works really well on YouTube would do horrible on TikTok, would do terrible on Instagram, would probably not get very much views on Facebook either. On Facebook, we got to make stuff that's appealing, attractive to keep people there. And I used to teach, make your videos 90 seconds or less. Well, if you go and look at my content for the last 3 years on my channel, everything's 9, 10, 15 minutes in length. It's long form content. Why? Because people have the YouTube app now on their television as well as their phone. And especially in the last year and a half, they're watching it on the TV. They're sitting at home. We just did it. We just went to Disney 2 weeks ago, and the entire month leading up to it, every day practically, either my wife or one of my kids is sitting on the TV, has YouTube open, and is watching Disney Food Blog, who's this lady who just walks you through all of the best things to eat around the parks and this place to go check out to sit down dinner and that. And so this trip, we had shared notes among all of the kids with phones and my wife and I with here's the agenda for each day, and we're going to make sure that we stop at Gaston's in Magic Kingdom and get the cinnamon roll, and we're going to make sure that when we're in Epcot that we go by this place and pick up the butter bar, caramel butter bar, and we're going to go to this place and we're going to have these egg rolls and all this stuff. And it was kind of this like aha moment. Okay, so you know what? I need to now take my content, which I used to just shoot in 1080, and think about upgrading it to 4K and pushing out even a higher quality resolution because people are sitting on their TV. And about 40% of my views now are people sitting at home on their TV at night, watching one video after another. And they like watching YouTube more than they do the television because there's less commercials. YouTube might play a pre-roll ad at the beginning and one at the end. And then if it's something really, really popular and long, maybe in the middle one. But you can watch a 15-minute show on YouTube in 17 minutes. If you look at your big time YouTubers like Mr. Beast, he's pushing out 15, 20-minute videos. He just put one out this week, and I just happened to see it. It's like 66 million views on it in 2.5 days. I don't know that the football games got that many views.
Right.
It's crazy how the stuff has changed a lot with it. And also at the same time, I think is finding your niche and your place where you fit in. For me, it's YouTube. For some other people, I have friends that they're huge TikTok stars and they've got amazing content there. That ain't my jam. And it's okay. I don't need to be a master of everything. I'd rather just be really good at one or two things, and I can be very successful at it instead of being horrible at a bunch.
Yeah, I love that. So I like the word avatar. I think everybody understands what you're looking for there. It's like the profile of your customer client who will watch your stuff. I love that, and I love niche or niche if you want to be fancy, because it narrows your focus. If you're not good at it, it can be risky. But if you get good at it, it's the way to what you've done, the way to excel.
Well, it's kind of like back in the day when I used to build websites. I would get people who would call me and say, Jeremy, I want to buy a website and I want to build it. And I was like, okay, well, where do you sell? And they'd be like, I sell Myrtle Beach. I'm like, okay, great. Okay, well, what do you want your website to specialize in Myrtle Beach? I want to specialize in Myrtle Beach homes. Okay, that's this huge, massive thing where people are searching. But the reality is, when people are searching Myrtle Beach, they're 15 to 18 months out for making a decision to buy. So they come and take that trip and they go, you know what? We really like North Myrtle Beach. And so then they're going home and they're now searching homes for sale in North Myrtle Beach. And then when they take that next trip that's a year out from their move here, they're searching just in North Myrtle Beach. They're not going down into Socastee. They're not going down to the southern end of the beach. They're not going out to the west. They're just staying up on the northern end. And they then go, you know what? We really like on the northern end Bridgewater community, and we really like Heather Glen. And so now this is when they're ready to be serious and find an agent to represent them. They're now 3 to 6 months out from making a decision. They're getting their home ready to put it on the market. And so if you can capture them at that point, because I've created a website or created content about homes for sale in Heather Glen or homes for sale in Bridgewater, I'm now the expert on these two things. And they're calling me saying, Jeremy, you know everything about Bridgewater. I used to do this with my website, Tad. Waterbridge in Carolina Forest. I never sold a home there. And I would get calls from people thinking I am the absolute expert because my old website ranked #1 for it because I thought it was a really good community that was going to take off really soon. And I wanted to be the expert. And I made myself the expert online. It's
Right.
kind of like I forget who it was. I think it was Dun and Bradstreet that did that survey once, and I think you shared that training where they were trying to set the local expert for a neighborhood, and they
Hmm.
mailed out a bogus mailer for how many months of a bogus agent. It's not even a real agent with a real name, and then surveyed the neighborhood, and like 70% of the people said, "I want that person to represent me." I mean, real person.
Right, right. Yeah, that's Jared James says that visibility trumps ability, even if it's not real, even if it's not, even if it's just perceived by the audience. So I like that because you want to be specific. When you're specific, you get the end user is more likely to buy or sell than being broad. You get a lot of looky-loos, a lot of shoppers, and you don't get to the sale. I like that. That's pretty perceptive. So as always, we're like 35, 36 minutes in. I don't want to be too long here with although you could talk forever. Tell me about whether or not the listeners how can they find you? Do you want them to find you and look at your stuff? You've talked to me about this before, like it's there for a certain purpose. I'm not your avatar. So do you want me to
Fair.
go there or not? Talk to me about that. How can they find you if they want to connect to you?
If you're starting a new channel, okay, and this is where I think you're going with this. So if I'm a brand new agent starting a channel, the worst thing you can do is go on to Facebook, send an email to everybody you know and say, go subscribe to my channel and have them go and do it. Because you're going to get me, Ma, and Aunt Sally, and you're going to get a dozen realtors who are going to go and like your channel and
Yeah.
subscribe. And you're going to go, wow, I got 25 subs. And you're going to be like, I'm off to the races and this is going to be great. And you're going to push out your first piece of content, and two of the people, one of which is your mom, is going to click on it because, hey, you sent them a link and said, Mom, check it out. I put my first video out. They're going to watch about 37 seconds of it, be bored, and click out and say, good job, honey. You did a great job. And then what that does is that tells the search engines, tells YouTube, tells Google, this guy's stuff's not that great. Where if you let
Right.
it just be found organically, it's going to make the network and the systems understand what you're about. It's okay now because my channel has been established pretty well, that you can go and see it there. So if you want to check out my channel, that's fine. It's really not going to hurt it that much anymore. I'm at about 85 to 95% of my traffic is coming from YouTube's homepage. YouTube has suggested videos. So it's really not going to be that big a deal. But if somebody wants to check things out, you can always hit me up on Facebook. That's probably where I'm at most of the time, or on Instagram. Or YouTube, wherever. I don't care. If you just put my name in anywhere, Jeremy Blanton, you're going to find me. Or even better, just shoot me an email to info@jeremyblanton.com. You can do that too. But yeah, it's crazy how it's just kind of blown up.
Yeah, I maybe title this episode from 26,000 to now. I mean, something like that, because you told me that first year. I remember that first year very well, and you had made some tough decisions, and you were kind of trying to find your way, and you were courageous in the journey, but it was not easy at first. And I'm happy for you. I'm proud of you. I think you've been consistent and persistent, and you haven't given up, and you stayed true to yourself and true to your mission. And I love that. I mean, here's a guy that's had the best 2 years of his life, and he just hired a coach. I mean, that shows teachability. So, Jeremy, I'm proud of you for that. But thank you again for being a contributor. I know that's what a video guy is a contributor. A lot of us are consumers most of the time. But I appreciate you contributing to us today, and much success to you in 2024. I might have to get you like mid-year to give me a prediction on where the next 12 months takes us, because I know you're a Buffini fan and he's got some interesting comments. I'd love to get your
I could
expose
talk for
about.
I could probably give you another 40 minutes on, but I'll give you the 30-second summary. And that is this: we got about another 6 to 8 weeks to get prepared, and then we better buckle up and get ready to go because it's going to be a wild ride.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. And I've told people that 2 times lately in my videos too, that if you're not ready, you're going to miss it. If you're not ready, you're going to miss it, because we aren't expecting it, because we are numbed by the fact that 2022 was a circus, 2023 stopped, and we're like, oh, and we're just all pouting. But when this thing changes in 6 to 8 weeks, we got to be ready. So I love that.
2023 didn't stop for me. It was my best year ever.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It's funny when people say that, I go, it was, and I have to come. It was.
I have to be quiet about that,
because it wasn't for me, and maybe it's because I created content that attracted those that were really ready to buy. I had my best year ever, and I'm on track. I'm gonna go. My goal this year is to crush the doors off of last year.
That's awesome. Well, I hope you do it, because I know your family will enjoy more trips to Disney, and nothing would make me happier. So, Jeremy, thank you for being on Rise Up with Real Estate. I appreciate you, my friend, and I can't wait to eat Chinese again real soon.
Hey, we got to go check out the new hibachi joint too that opened up.
I'll be there. I'm gonna be there tomorrow, but I already have lunch plans. We'll do it next week.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate you.
See ya.
Well, hey, that's a wrap, folks. Thank you so much for listening to Rise Up in Real Estate. If you liked hanging out with us today, please find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Rise Up in Real Estate. Also, follow us right now on your favorite podcast host to hear more episodes. We really appreciate you spending some of your time with us. And until next time, let's do each other a favor and all help each other rise up.